Good evening.
All set? Okay, we will call this public meeting to order, and as always, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? I do have one for the request to waive facility fees. We're also adding something that came in last week for the Mount Monadnock Little League for the use of our gym facilities for the spring season that I've talked to Sandy about. So we'll add that to section 8. And if there's nothing else, we will move on to public comments. Session 1. So people online. This is our first session of public comments. We'll also have a session at the end also for anybody in the room. Now is your time to make a public comment per our policy. So I welcome you to do so at this time.
Chris,
Yes.
I would just like to mention that it's kind of an honor to have a former school board chair. I think 3 years. So you served as
6 years of being a
years,
board
but I mean, as chairperson, were you?
2.
4.
Oh, wow. All right. Awesome.
That long?
Welcome.
4 is what I thought, but.
Laurel worked very hard.
Yeah.
Did a great job. Yeah.
So I'm looking over to see if we have anybody online. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like we have any public comments in the room. So let's move to the student representatives. So Jaden, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. This week, I'm gonna keep my portion of it a little short and sweet. First and foremost, this isn't a slide on my slideshow, but Hoops for Hope is tomorrow. We're all very excited. We've been building up all the things that we need to build up before the event. It's gonna be a great event. We've been raising a lot of money, fundraising for the fight against cancer. We're all very excited. Come out if you can, obviously. There'll be basketball games, cheerleading half times, some raffle baskets, and chuck a duck. That's my favorite part. Now to my actual slideshow. On to round 2. Sorry to steal anybody's thunder. Last Friday, Conant High School had the opportunity to send our faculty representatives to Concord to advocate to receive the School of the Year award. We have so far made it to the second round of consideration from the state to receive this prestigious award. Here's to hopes on making round 3. Yes, we sent out Mrs. Welsh and Mrs. Dibble. All right, and next we've moved on to our second semester or third quarter of the school year. New classes. We're very excited to see how this year finishes out. We're also excited for the warmer weather, and personally, us seniors are starting to count down the days. It's it's happy and it's sad. It's bittersweet, but we're very excited nonetheless to see what comes our way. So now the exciting part. I am officially beginning my new initiative for more vocal inclusion from some of our student body. So next slide. So this is just to allow you guys and whomever else may be watching to see the inner workings yourselves, especially if you're not able to come during the school day or during clubs and sports, or you're obviously not able to see every single thing. So I just wanted to bring a little bit of that to you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Jessica Yap, my special guest. All right.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Yap. I'm a senior in Conan and I'm a captain of the robotics club. And today I'm going to show you like a little bit of inside of what's our robotics about. So a little bit more about the robotics club. It's like a club where it's more of a STEM facility where people are able, like students are able to come over here and do hands-on learning environment and able to design, build, and program robots. They develop like critical skills such as problem solving, teamwork, and leadership. The Robotics Club in our school compete in events like First Tech Challenge, which is worldwide known kind of like event, robotics event that held every year, and every year there's a different challenge that a new different challenge that comes every year. So here's some like a little bit of benefits of the robotics club. Like I said, like leadership and teamwork and problem solving skills that you can develop, but I'm gonna go more in depth about it. So like leadership is like you're able to do public speaking, communication, and responsibility, because this is important in the workforce, like for like students who want to go above and beyond and be some sort of leader or a CEO if they want to be. So I think this is a good base where they can actually learn how to be a good leader. Teamwork, as every workforce needs a good teamwork, communication skills is also important. And pretty much this allows like, especially like building robots and designing it allows us to like communicate if how to do better. Problem solving, same because of how like our structure of the STEM. It encourages like students to like think outside the box and just design and do their own creative ways to make like. So our vision in our community, in the school community, is we want to like foster the culture of curiosity. So where a student can experiment and develop innovative solutions. This is essential for creativity and wide range challenges, whether it involves understanding mechanical system or programming, especially like people who wants to work in want to major in like some sort of engineering degree or any STEM related. But even though this is not STEM related, there's other things that you could do, like business, which is taking into like finance, advertisement marketing, because we need a lot of marketing, because First also wants to build a good First community outside of that little program we have. So our goal is to establish the
You want me to do the next slide?
Yep. Yeah.
Can I just say, I love the example that you have up there.
Yeah.
I remember talking to him about this opportunity, and I think that's really important that you take it and read that.
Yeah, like Timothy Piquet is like last year's graduate. He majored in robotics engineering in WPI. He had, I think, many scholarships from First. First provides like thousands of scholarships that you can apply for, and I think it's a path that he might not have pursued without this club.
Yeah.
Our goal for like a long-term goal is like to actually establish a room at school entirely for like the club. So our current situation right now is that we have two different places, different rooms. So one of them was in the robotics club, which is upstairs. It's being used by the middle school health PE class. So in that room we just usually build, but now we also have the playing field in the teachers' lounge, which kind of disrupt the teachers from going in and being like, oh, I don't want to disrupt the
students in the clubs and kind of scared. I think most of the time they're like, oh, I don't want to bother them. So I think that's one of the biggest issue of our current situation, and the fact that we are not able to like program and then fix the robot in the field too. So our goal is to create a dedicated space equipped with the necessary material and field to be able to build robots with ease. And how we're gonna do that is like maybe advocate for a dedicated maker space for the robotics club. So yesterday also we had our first qualifier in the next slide. And we made it to the state championship, and we'll be going on February 15 for our state championship. We can't wait for that.
Wow.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And you have your coach here.
She's really helped a lot with this club, sacrificing a lot of time and volunteering hours needed. Any questions?
Just in terms of the upcoming state championship meet, is that, so how did you rank? How did you get there? What did you have to?
I think our team, like, other members in the team really work hard on building this robot. Even though there's a few setbacks during the qualifier, we strive to do our best and we made it.
Just as being modest. They were ranked 5th overall in competition yesterday. She was 3rd Alliance captain. She picked a terrific partner for the Alliance. And they won their first playoff match. And unfortunately lost the next 2. But they were 3rd in line to go to states at the end of yesterday's qualifier.
Awesome.
Wow.
Excellent. Yes, it's great.
How many teams compete?
I think
Statewide?
in the last qualifier, they was like around 20 to 25.
There were 27 teams there yesterday.
Which is
There are 28 teams that go to states. I suspect that 1 in 4 teams don't make it.
Now, this was the second round of competition, because I remember hearing that earlier in January, there was a competition as well.
Each team in First Tech Challenge in New Hampshire can go to 2 qualifiers. You have 2 shots at qualifying for the state championship.
Okay, wow.
I think you guys learned a lot from the first one.
Yeah.
Made some changes.
Yeah, and that was a great presentation, by the way. And it's always smart when you do something good like that to ask for something, certainly, because you guys deserve it, right? And
Did you see every single one of them start writing when you like put that
yeah,
call up there?
absolutely, right? Because, I know how hard you guys work. I think you may have and it's a well-rounded thing. I think I've exchanged emails for you guys look for fundraising, you look for help. It's not just about like building the robot, and that's all part of that kind of that experience and development. And I guess I look at it from the perspective of I see those results and I know like that you guys have trouble getting help. And I know that you guys have trouble getting space. But yet, we look and see how well you do. So that's definitely a testament to you guys. And to me, puts the onus back on the school board and the community to like give you guys some more help. For sure. So, I mean, that's what I take away from that. And it's important for people to see this, right? Because the robotics club is not necessarily on the front page of, any newspaper, but this is, actually very important work. And look what, the graduates have gone on to do. So yeah, definitely, if you need stuff from the board or from other people, definitely keep advocating for yourself. For sure. Because this is very impressive.
Yeah.
What about this room right here? We can just block it all. You can have it Monday nights, Monday nights at 6:30 and you can like do something in here. It's a big open space.
Yeah, maybe you can do a demonstration. Wouldn't that be cool?
They delivered mail, right? There was something in the.
Well, I think it was a
That's
STEM,
something
that was a STEM
different.
class.
That was
Yep.
Santa Claus.
May I ask your coach, how many years have you been doing robotics?
There.
Wow. Since you left the school board?
No, I started while I was on school.
Mhm.
Ah, okay, okay. Nice. Well,
And you
I have had a chance to see some of the performances or the competitions, and I remain amazed at what those kids have done.
It helped the team practice for judges interview. Like the qualifying practice. So it's not just building a robot. These kids produce an engineering portfolio. They have an interview with judges before they ever get on the field, present their robot and their design process. It's pretty impressive program. And if I could make a pitch for a dedicated space, it would be terrific to be able to actually organize the tools, have a workbench, mount the tool organization devices on the walls. I think we could accommodate many more students, even have 2 teams from the school. But the itinerant nature of the space over the years, it just means that everything's in bins, it's hard to organize, we lose stuff. And we're very grateful this year that we got to set up a field. That was terrific. I'm not sure that the custodial staff appreciates being in there, us being in there during the lunch break, but they've been very gracious.
Maybe if the robots could start
Serving food.
serving food. Answering emails. Now, this is super impressive and I appreciate hearing about this because this is a school that is traditionally focused on athletics. And to hear about what's happening in the clubs and that the clubs are competitive and that kids are getting scholarships out of the clubs. Very cool. It's inspiring. And, you know, I hope that we can figure out a way to give you some space because I do not sew very often, but when I do, I know how horrible it is to have to take out the sewing machine, the box, and then it's dinner time. I have to put it's horrible. It's frustrating and you don't accomplish much like what you would want to accomplish. And I imagine it is so much more involved to create a robot than to create a napkin or whatever it is I might be sewing. So I appreciate what you're saying and look around, dig deep. Thank you for being here, Jess.
Thank you
Very
for
nice.
listening.
Didn't you do amazing?
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks.
And thank you for organizing that, Jaden.
Yes.
Yeah, Jaden, feedback for you. More of things like that. I think when
Yes,
when you came on, we talked about having that insight into like, what's
Yeah.
really going on, because we don't, right?
Right. This
As
is
much as I'd like to go to the robotics thing, I
right.
may not go, but
Right.
it's awesome to see this.
Yes, this has been in the works for a while.
It's great.
I didn't just forget about it and just
No,
bring
no,
it back
no,
up again,
perfect.
but something I did want to highlight specifically about Jessica and more so about what we're starting to see. We're seeing students who are club members, club leaders, very heavily involved in academics and extracurricular clubs, but they are also simultaneously athletes. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's something that you rarely used to see. Like you were either an athlete or you were a club person or you're an academic person. But now we're seeing this incredible blend to where there's more people making connections with more people and just growing and intertwining this community. And Jessica is an incredible example of that.
Great. Fantastic.
Thank you. As are you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Forgot. Thank you. But yeah, that's all we had for you.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Let's go.
Thanks.
So before Jaden leaves, if it's, do you have like 2 minutes?
8.
Oh, we got so much time, so that's good. Because this goes, I'm altering what I was gonna do now a little bit, but, and I don't need to talk about the robotics. I had talked to Ms. Lindstad, she gave me a rundown, it was really exciting. First of all, the comment about, we used to be known for sports and not these other things. I do want to also say to those viewing, we're still known for sports too. We got both, we got all, and as a matter of fact, we were known for basketball and we're considered, when I came here, it was like, we're basketball school, we're basketball school. People still say that, we're in a spot, I think, of growing again, and needing to, kind of rebuild some things. But 9 basketball teams, 7 of them playing tonight in different locations, from Profile to our gym to, a bunch of other places to Bethlehem. Yeah, it's almost comical, but they're getting exposure, middle school kids going off to these other teams.
They're happy about it. They
And
get
they're
a
super
long-
happy about it.
It's a long
great
bus ride.
experience,
And
long
they get to
bus
stop
ride.
at McDonald's.
Yeah, and they get to stop at McDonald's, exactly. So it's like, it's great, right? But that's important. Those experiences and that sense of belonging, building that sense of belonging is important. There are, not quite, but almost a quarter of our population of kids from middle school and high school. It's certainly a bigger population in our middle school, but if we have 550 kids and we have 125 individuals playing basketball on a team, you're getting close to a quarter of the school.
Wow.
That's amazing. So that's happening, and all of what you just said, Jaden, they're involved in a variety of things, and it's not separate. It's all together, and some of this is still in its infancy, but like you said, it's growing. It's becoming more the norm, and that leads into the email that I just received a couple hours ago. It was forwarded to me by the principal of the high school. Whoops, wrong one. Sorry. That will be the next conversation. Good afternoon. Friday, because I went with them on Friday.
Yes.
I was not originally going to go, but someone wanted to bow out, so I went there and I clicked the slides and answered a few questions to the committee that they presented to in Concord at the NEA Center. And they said, congratulations on Conant Middle High School being selected by the New Hampshire Excellence in Education Awards for a site visit. So round 3, they are going to round 3, which means they're coming here. I'm not going to put all this, there's a ton of work that they have to do. There's a ton of work that they already did. Presentation was excellent. I was quite thorough. And so they are, for the purposes of public information, they gave us a specific status. And I'm not entirely sure what the status is, but it's not, you're not like, they're not a finalist. They're just basically selected for the 3rd round for the next part of the School of Excellence. I'll have to get you the actual official name of that.
Thank you.
But so they'll be coming back here.
Very good. That's very helpful for that.
Well, you had said I'll hopefully be part, because you
Yes.
originally wanted to go the first time.
Yes.
For the 3rd round. Yeah.
To go out that way, but
Yeah.
things happen. Which it worked out for the better because it was the end of the semester anyways, so I kind of needed to be here.
So I think there are 4 or 5 rounds is what this is.
Gotcha.
But so the 3rd round is the next one is a site visit. So they'll be here, and I don't think we're allowed to say much about it at this point in time, but I know there's about 5 to 7 individuals coming to, and that will be in mid-February. Okay.
put a side note here about it. You mentioned, I feel like we talked about this, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but talked about Hoops for Hope tomorrow night. Super exciting. It's being held here. Is it hosted here this year?
Yep.
And a stinking scheduling glitch because the basketball kids have games tomorrow night. We can't go to Hoops for Hope.
Yeah,
Uh.
there's been, I mostly just share positive things, so I know you've been waiting for this. There has been a lot of frustration between especially our two varsity teams. That due to their scheduling, they are rarely ever able to watch each other's games. So I think the boys basketball team so far has been able to go to one girls basketball game.
That was last Wednesday. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were here. Yeah.
Yep. Student section was packed. We made sure it was themed games all week. They were there. And since I'm there cheering the home games, I can tell you the difference. It's a huge difference. And I know that they're all very bummed about that. As are us cheerleaders, obviously, because we have less people to cheer with. So.
And tonight it was nice. They had the two JV teams playing, the girls JV team and the boys JV team, and they were able to stay for each other's games. And so I was there for only 5 minutes, but 10 minutes maybe, but you could hear the difference in the cheering and so forth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's so important for them to support each other.
Well, and originally, due to scheduling conflicts, we almost had to plan 2 dates for Hoops for Hope, like on 2 separate days.
Wow.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we were able to have Monadnock collaborate with us a little bit, change some things up to get them on the same day. But had we not, I think it would have been not great.
The kids are just really sad.
Yeah.
Well, and also a bit of a theme, even with the robotics, is, the more you grow, the more we get involvement, the tighter the scheduling is, because of the, partly in part, lack of space.
Mhm.
So I know that we're utilizing RMS to the max. That gymnasium is getting more than it ever has, obviously here. The Pratt always has
Yep.
been used significantly, JGS, et cetera.
Yep.
So we even have some town conflicts that we have to work with and continue to work on all of that growth. And that's good. But there are things to work on.
Mhm.
So the next item is at the put this up here. At the last meeting that we had, which were the public forums or the hearings, the budget hearing and the CTE warrant article hearing, the bond hearing, is that we had some changes. There was some feedback that was provided to the school board, and there were some changes that were requested regarding the warrant article. And so this is what we were able to do. We talked with legal counsel, with bond counsel, with the DRA, and this is where we came up with. So the language, nothing in this space right here changed. That was all the same as what it was. So you have a copy of that, and again, that hasn't changed. And then this next part right here hasn't changed. That was just in the notes, a parentheses and description, talking about what the law states, the RSA, about funding. The legislature shall fund between 50%, not more than 75% of the eligible costs. And then what was changed was this bottom part here, rather than just putting the 15 cents and the 12 cents per thousand estimated, of course, for the tax impact because of the first payment of the bond. There were the next 2 years afterwards with a note on it that tax impact begins to decline each year after that, and that these estimates are based upon a 10-year bond with a 3.19% interest rate, and a 2024 assessment. So all this is going to change, but
It's the best estimate we have for right now.
that's the best estimate we have right now. It's what could fit on a slide. But that gives you something that doesn't go too far out, where you just get more inaccurate as you go. So it gives a pretty good understanding. And so you have the 79 cents to 77 cents. You can maybe, put that, come to the conclusion that's gonna be 77 cents, maybe 75 cents, maybe, et cetera, going on for the life of the time frame.
Yeah, and I think the
Of the
point
bond.
was it could kind of be deceptive, right? To just have the 15 and the 12. That's
Mhm.
obviously not what we wanted to do,
Mhm.
but that traditionally it's only the first year on there. So to me, I think that answers that question.
So with this warrant article right here in mind, this has gone over to our architects who are working on a 3-minute video that can be put out and then also utilized for communication in different group settings, deliberative being one of them, to introduce this. But they needed a script for this part. And so I have a draft script that I wanted these, have some feedback prior to sending it to them. And if you need time, I can always send this to you and you can weigh in, or we can just do it right now. But basically, I'll put it up to 200% so that you can see it. So if you can imagine, there's some pictures from the architectural work and talking about CTE, and here's the different places. And the idea is maybe they would start off with this paragraph at a different portion of the video. But then basically when you're coming up to the actual warrant itself, we want to explain it because there's a lot of language there and people can misinterpret the language. So trying to keep it accurate and simple and also positive. So on March 11th, Ringe and Jaffrey voters will have the opportunity to vote to approve the construction of a new career and technical education addition to the Conant Middle High School. This project will enhance and expand the existing construction trades program and add 2 new programs, culinary arts and public security and safety, including EMT. If voters approve this project in March, the New Hampshire legislature will be asked to approve the project and pay up to 75% of the allowable costs associated with this project. Now, automatically, I have used the word project too many times, but we can change that. This is the final year of the state's 20-year commitment to New Hampshire schools and communities to fund career and technical education, building renovations, and new construction, at least in the way that they've done it. We're still working on that after this. Every approved career and technical education construction project over the last 19 years has been funded at 75%. We believe the state will also fund our project at the 75% level. This warrant article provides voters with the total project cost, the amount the state would give the district if funded at 75% of allowable expenses, and the maximum amount needed to be raised locally. The total estimated cost for this project is $22,895,000. If approved, the local contributions would be set at $6,849,000. This leaves $16,046,000 to be funded by the state. For this warrant article to pass, 60% of voters must vote yes. The notes at the bottom of the warrant article provide the 3-year estimated tax impact. Our local school board unanimously voted to recommend this warrant article.
Bring on the last
Mhm.
paragraph.
Yep.
Sometimes there's confusion about the 2/3 vote between the towns. I'm wondering if you want to say something, 60% of voters from both towns combined must vote yes, or something like that. I don't know, sometimes because we have the 2 towns and our vote. Ringe might, have this number, Jaffrey, this number, it's combined that we need. Is there a language that we can put in there to kind of make that?
So how would you, what would be the word?
60% total
60%?
between of all voters.
From
Oh.
Jaffrey
In
and
Jaffrey and Ringe.
Ringe.
Yeah, I think putting the names of the towns.
Well, I
is
think if
probably-
you say and in Jaffrey and Ringe, then you create a confusion.
Confusion, yeah, I agree.
So using the word,
60% of the total vote.
using the word both.
The total vote?
60% of the total vote.
Mm. Oh,
But when
okay.
you start mentioning the towns, then you confuse people, something along those lines.
60%
What do you recommend?
of all voters.
Yep,
It's the vote.
All voters from the school
From
district.
both towns, from the school.
From the district.
District.
of all district
Doesn't
voters.
Of all
make a
district
whole-
voters.
From the district.
Yeah.
I don't think you wanna say voters, but just because you're a voter, but
Yeah.
you might not have voted.
Yeah, because
The vote
it's
count.
it's only a district voting anyway.
District
vote yes.
voters.
All district
Votes.
That's 60%.
all.
We could also change the front of this and say, I mean, this, for this warrant,
We're not worried about
for
it.
this warrant to pass, it requires that 60% of the votes
Cast.
cast, yeah. So, okay. So for this warrant to pass,
Is that in each town or both towns?
I'll let it go.
is it casted?
You just said yes.
Do you still want to add a district somewhere?
Yeah, there's no E.
There's no E. It's
Just
different.
the cast.
Different type of cast, thank you. There you go.
Different kind of cat.
Let's not go.
Yeah, exactly. They require
That.
60% of. Okay, I will, I'm going to toy with that one right there to make it cleaner. So I'll just highlight this. Cause I think it's clumsy right now, so, okay.
And the notes at the bottom of the warrant article provide the first 3 years estimated.
Mhm.
So that no one is confused enough to think we'll pay it off in 3 years.
Mhm. Okay, now, just to have a little more information, I was on a call today because I'm on a committee to look at what happens now that the 20 years is done. And it was brought to my attention that Milford has amended or changed their project, what they're asking for. And so now, I don't know what their total ask is right now, but their ask from the state, I've been told, is only 10 million.
Oh, wow.
Which is only like half of what they were looking for
It's like
before.
26
It was,
before or something.
yeah, they were looking for 20 to 25 or so from the state before. So now they said it's down to 10 million, which combined with ours is only 1 million more than what the state has ever provided for funding. And given the fact that costs are going up, it's actually less than some years. So if you think of it that way. So I think that with that knowledge, with Conval not choosing to go forward, we knew Messinic early on decided to not do their small project. And with Milford, I think wanting to get something done at their site, I know that the vote didn't go in their favor last year, so this is their second attempt to do that. This does provide us more confidence that 75% level is going to be honored, yes. And it has been stated by the governor that CTE is a priority. And our project specifically was discussed with only, for 4 or 5 minutes, but with the governor by those who are advocating at the State Department for us. So we would have more to go. If this passes, then we have to go in front of the legislature and so forth in May or June, but step at a time and time to increase some communication.
Now we just have to get the word out to our community that this is an opportunity, too good to pass.
Yeah, it's not gonna come back.
Was that their original?
No,
Or is this what they're doing now?
so it's still, you're right, 10 million.
10 million, yeah,
It's be doing a lot of things that are
little under
funded.
10,
Yeah.
little under 10 million, yep. Okay, so I will look at that right there. And change that up and get what I think you're asking for. Basically, you don't want people coming back going, well, 40% of, Jaffrey voted, yes, but, 90% of Ringe voted, yes, and it all panned out to be the 60. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay. All right, thank you. Let's keep my report just at the strength of what's happening within the school and the opportunity for them to continue to bring others from around the state in to determine whether, this school gets that. I mean, this school is in the running for that school of excellence. That's what we can say. They're still in the running for it, and they're going on to the next level. And
Yeah.
then,
That's great.
yep, and then I did get an opportunity to go to Jaffrey Grade School. This is really more of a kind of an add-on from the last education committee, which showed the elementary schools and their wit and wisdom work, the reading and writing. I was able to go around to most classes, not all of them, and several of the teachers came and showed me their work that they are doing with their kids. I did not ask to see it. I saw one teacher brought me and showed me the entire literacy wall with every student's and that every learner's work up on the wall in the format of this is what their writing sample was in September, their writing sample in October, November, December. So you can flip through it and see the drastic changes all the way through on all of them. And then also got to go into our other program that we've recently started, the innovation that's been going on with the restorative classroom, to see some very similar work. It's more of just their portfolio, like a book that they continue to work on from year. But I was able to have a learner sit down with me for 5 minutes and show me what he had done from early on in the year all the way till today. And given the struggles that some have and where they're starting, to see where they're coming, the growth is quite impressive. So it was very enjoyable to do that today. Yep.
Any other questions for Ruben? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. This week we have manifests, payroll, some budget transfers, a donation. It looks like a donation here to the RMS Student Activities account from Ken and Mary Bruck for $1,000 for field trip or student lunches, which is excellent. So thank you.
So, question.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
So does this mean now that HR reports directly to Ruben, or who does HR report to?
HR reports. Where's this? What is this?
I'm not sure which item you're.
The second link under budget transfer,
The human resources
Okay.
budget line.
I think the phrasing of that link is,
It looks like you're moving money out of the business line and into an HR line.
Yes. So that we have not ever had HR lines. And so Carrie created some new HR lines so that there was money that could be used for the purpose of HR. Who oversees HR? I think that was your question.
Yeah,
That's
it appeared to me that
two
it's coming
individuals.
out of the business office
Mhm.
because it's not funded through the business office. It's funded through its own line, which is HR.
That's the way we think it should be done. Yes. It just hasn't been done. But to talk about who oversees, there's a shared oversight of HR with the superintendent's office and the business administrator.
Okay.
Because HR has two kind of functions. And so we have the human side of things and the resource side of things, I guess you could say, and the data and the money and all that goes along with everything, all your health benefits and so forth. So there's that. And then there's the other portion of HR. So I oversee one part and Carrie oversees another part. Makes it tricky, but it's worked.
From Martin Luther.
Yeah. Where is that one?
H2.
H2. Yeah, I'm looking for, here we go.
Strange, she's not finishing here.
Yeah. You know, if you came to the opening this year, I talked about how Eleanor has done so much for this district. I won't read my writing and my speech again. I have the utmost admiration for Eleanor. Eleanor Martin, as the long-standing president of the JRSSA, has in her advocacy for children here in the district and for the individuals who work in the capacity of one of those categories within JRSSA. Our school district has improved as a result of her work. Our pay scales have improved as a result of her work. Newsflash, Ms. Martin, Eleanor, and I have not always agreed. But what we always did do was commit to sitting down for however long it took and working things out. And we always kept the kids at the center of our conversations. That's a special person. So. Yep.
Agreed.
I will miss her, and I think this district will miss her, but we are grateful for the work that she has done, and hey, she deserves it, right? She deserves to go out and enjoy her retirement with her family and friends. And we'll probably try to get her to substitute and do other things like that, So I don't think she's gone.
Somebody want to make a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make a
Yes.
motion to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sandy. Any further questions or discussion on the consent agenda? If not, we'll move to a vote. So we have everyone here. Nobody's virtual, so this makes it quicker and easier. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed and abstentions, so that passes by a vote of 7-0. And we move on to a number of meeting minutes. Right, that's not in the consent agenda, so that's separate.
Number seven, yep.
Okay, so item number 7, we have the meeting minutes from December 19th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for December 19th, 2024.
Thank-
Second.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Christine. Any discussions? It looks like we had John, Christine, Chris, and Lisa for that one.
Can I just have a moment?
Yeah, go ahead.
December 19th,
That's when it was only 4 of us and we met in here.
okay, so no questions.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the December 19th, 2024 meeting minutes, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed and abstentions.
I'll abstain.
So we have, I'm assuming we have 4, 3. Right? Okay, so that passes by 4-3, and we'll move on to the next ones. We have January 6th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for January 6th.
Thank you, Kim. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions or discussion? All right, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the January 6th meeting minutes, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed and abstentions? So that passes 7-0. Oh. I'm sorry, I'm gonna need to take that back. That's the one, I missed that meeting.
Oh.
I'm abstaining from that. I was like, who's the name missing? That's the only meeting I've missed. So yeah, I abstained from that, so that passes 6-0. Moving on to the January 16th, school board meeting number 1 minutes that took place in the music room just a few weeks ago.
Motion to accept the minutes from that meeting?
Thank you, Lisa.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sandy. Any questions or discussion?
Yes.
Okay,
So, there were two sets of meeting minutes there, and I printed out a page or two, but not sure which one, but I had a question on each of them. On, one of them, there was a motion, I think it was a motion to adjourn. And it says that the motion passed 6-0 with, Hiker, O'Coin, McCarthy, Wiley, and Stewart and Pressman. But I think that Kim wasn't here for that one, and that Chris should be in there instead. Because his name was left off, so.
okay, so that looks like, oh, yeah. So on the first set.
Good catch.
On
Which one of these?
on page 4 of the first one, meeting number 1, like the last line there,
Last page, yeah.
the last page.
Right, is in the 116, the school board minutes. number
Yeah,
1
yeah,
minutes.
exactly.
So my name should be replaced with Chris.
Yep. All right,
And then the other one, and this may be fine, but it just. on
can we
the other
do
one-
this one,
Okay, yes.
this one
please.
first?
Sorry.
Let's approve this one, I think as amended,
You
if
said
there's
that's
no
on
other-
what page was that? Just so I can.
page 4.
4.
Uh,
One more, I think,
yeah, it's right at the top there.
right here.
There's a coin.
Yep.
There.
Okay.
All right.
Yep, good.
Okay, thank you, John. Good catch. I'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the first set of meeting minutes from January 16th, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed and abstentions?
Aye.
That passes by a vote of 6-0 to 1. And we'll move to the next one, and John will have the hearing minutes. So, John, you had a comment for the other one as well?
Yes, there was under adjournment. It said there was a motion made by Pressman to adjourn the meeting. I read the very end, number 3, adjournment. And it has it as 5-0-1, which maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. Charlie wasn't in the room, so we just kind of
Okay, good.
moved
Thank you.
on without it.
Okay,
Okay.
All right.
That's what happens when you go to the bathroom.
that's what I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you, John.
Don't leave the room, that'll get you.
Before we do that, just a quick name repair. Page 5 for Roberta Acer, it is spelled Oeser. I'll second.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving these meeting minutes as amended, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed and abstentions. So that passes by a vote of 6-0 to 1.
And Wendy, I don't think anybody's gonna mind this, it's Jed Brummer with a B. You have a Rummer with an R, so just put a B in front of that, please. Thanks.
Just,
You're gonna have to spell their names from now on.
yeah,
No, so I'm not joking, seriously,
it is
because
hard to hear.
it's
sometimes.
like, I mean, we're familiar with a lot of these names, right? But she's spelling
Well, I
them,
just read right over them. They look fine.
spelling them exactly as they're phonetically pronounced. So yeah, I get that. Maybe we'll think about that.
Just a brief update to my superintendent's report, if that's okay.
Yeah.
David Dustin, the principal of the school, and this is for the high school. Even though it's CMHS, they entered the high school event with the School of Excellence. And so what we're permitted to say is that we are a candidate for the secondary school representative of excellence. So that is the official phrase we're allowed to use.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Yep.
I think that is 1, 2, 3, 4, all of the meeting minutes that we have. Thank you, Wendy, for that. Moving on to the requests to waive facility fees. We have the Ringe Recreation Department travel basketball for the JGS gym, the Ringe Recreation Department karate, the RMS cafeteria, and also it's not on here, but we're adding for the Mount Monadnock Little League for the spring season for the gyms. And
For the gyms or for the field? At RMS,
I think they use the gym in the field.
they use.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
so Sandy can give Wendy the words on that. Somebody can make a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the request to waive the facility fees for Ringe Rec.
Thank you, Kim.
And the Monadnock Little League.
Yep.
A second.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions or discussion? Let's move to a vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed and abstentions. So that passes by 7-0-0. Move on to the action items where we have 1, 2, 3 field trips. CMHS 6th grade to the Boston Museum of Science, CMHS to the Boston Pops, and the RMS trip to Kimball Farm.
Is,
Boston Pops is at UMass? Amherst?
I'm,
I don't, what's
No.
that? What was the question?
Yeah, because I don't know if they're playing their summer venue or their Boston venue.
No, it's still the Boston venue. They do, Pops goes to the movies, and so they have.
It's in Boston.
But it's in Boston.
79 miles away, Boston.
Yep.
Does it need to be, this is just a question, but does it need, it just says CMHS, just say CMHS band or is the whole school going to the Boston Pops?
35 learners.
So not the whole school.
Traditionally, it's been a band
Yeah.
and choral, like in music,
Yeah.
but that's a good point. That should be added in. And it's Carrie Swift doing it. So yeah, traditionally, this has been a yearly
I just didn't know if we should say that
for them, but yeah, you're right. It doesn't say that in the
for Kimball's.
document either.
No, I didn't see that either.
It's band and choir. Sometimes there's some drama involved with band and choir. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve all the action items regarding field trips.
Thanks, Charlie.
To the Museum of Science, Boston Pops, and Kimball's Farm in Westford.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sandy. Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the 3 field trips, as listed on here on the agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstentions, so that passes by 7-0-0. And now we will talk about policies.
All right, as stated before, we are going through our policies, looking specifically for egregiously outdated ones or ones that are priority required by law that the state has updated. So KFD, use and location of automatic external defibrillators, it falls under that category where the state has updated a little bit of the language. And September 30th, it used to be a recommended, now it is a priority required policy due to the passage of SB 379. and relating to the location and maintenance. So I don't believe that it affects, I think we've stayed in current with all laws with this. This just updates the language, to accommodate those things. So I would ask that this be passed as written by the New Hampshire School Board Association. The next one on the list, JLIA, Supervision of Students, is one that was revised by the state 2009, but ours is older still. And we liked the policy committee liked this language. It is a short one. And it's dealing with, let's see, the building principal is responsible for administering and supervising the school, the general conduct of the students, both on school premises and during school-sponsored activities off school grounds. Students should be under the supervision of a member of the school staff at all reasonable times while they are in school or attending school functions. All school staff shall ensure the safety of students, even when they are not specifically scheduled for supervisory duty. All dangerous conditions in the school should be reported once the building principals. And in schools where bus transportation is provided, the supervisory duties shall include the loading and unloading when necessary of the students at the school. Elementary school students shall be escorted to the bus to ensure that the students board the bus safely. So just kind of little more detailed language than what we currently have. So we'd ask that that pass as is. The next one is parental notification of an involvement in student welfare. This is another priority required by law. It was updated by the state September 2024 to accommodate the passing of HB 1312, which among other things creates a new paragraph in RSA 18611 and requires a policy relating to disclosure and disclosure to parents of information concerning a student's mental, emotional, and physical health. So this is not a long policy, but it updates our language. This covers what we are doing now. It's not that this changes what we are currently doing, but it the language complies with the law better than our older language. And the last one for the first reading is second. All right, so JRA, student records and access. And again, these are for first reading. We don't need to, we can just look through these and come back to them another day. This one is in the revision notes. Can you go up to the red line, please? Yeah, so this did have some revisions. And if you'll notice, this is also a recommended policy. We have this policy and similar ones. I'm curious that this is recommended. I think that they're pushing for this to be a required one. And there has some interesting notes in it that I would ask you guys to read through. I would also ask that the business office and student services who did look through this quickly at our meeting, take some time with this as well, see where this policy might need some timing. This does, there should be language in our handbooks related to this for when we do it. So even if we do pass this one, we might want to postpone notification and distribution of this, which isn't a problem right now. It just has a lot more detailed things that we want to pay attention to. So the other three, I feel like could be passed without, too much discussion. This one has a lot more to it. So I do believe that we want to take a closer look at this one. And so even though these are for first reading, our next school board meeting is next Monday. I'm going to recommend that these not be placed on the agenda for next Monday. I just feel like 1 week is not enough for a first reading. And JRA, I would like to go back and I want this on your radars, but it's something that should be looked at for a longer period of time. So my recommended is that KFD, JLIA, and JLP be placed on the agenda for the end of February for a second reading. JRA, I'd like to pause that and simply have that as something that admin takes a closer look at. Okay? Is my recommendation. Second readings, I would like to have voted on tonight. JJA, student activities and organizations. Ours is a very old policy. This one was last updated in 2022 to better align, relating to, home and non-enrolled district students and courses. It is intended to help ensure equitable application of eligibility standards. Again, everything that we're doing now, but this just updates the language a little more appropriately. JICDD, student discipline and out of school actions. This is a policy that is recommended. And I believe this is one that we did not currently have, but I can't check right now. And the committee felt that this clarified language very nicely, so that people just have an idea of what the school is responsible for, and really shouldn't be. But it kind of the language was much clearer than what our currently policy said. So I would recommend that one for tonight. And JJJ, access to public school programs by non-public and charter school and home. This relates to the policy that we just spoke of, let me see, what was it? JJA, yeah. So JJA and JJJ are, have some similar tie-ins. This again, though, is priority required by law and updated in 2022, and really highlights that we be equitable in out-of-school students using our courses and extracurricular activities. So if this gets approved tonight, I would ask the highlighted areas be, notified who is, for the updated language for titles, pretty much, that would be it. All right. So I would like to make a motion to approve policies JJA, JICDD, and JJJ.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'll second.
Thank you, Christine. Any questions or discussions on those three policies proposed for approval?
Or just the second one, the JICDD, which is just outlining some things that we already do, but it's helpful for us to have this policy so that and it be outward facing, so that individuals, families, community members do know that when something happens outside that may impact the school day here and the educational setting for individuals, learners, adults, that it is the school that is going to investigate. Now, there may be other investigations from other places, depending on what the situation is, police or whatever. Or we might be doing something jointly together, but we do investigate those things. So cyberbullying is a perfect example. So just having people understand that we do that, because it's not just what happens within the building anymore. It's not, it hasn't been for quite some time. But we do, our administrators and some of the teachers who are involved in this process of helping to investigate. HR sometimes has to do investigations with us as well, depending on the content of what is happening or the context of what's happening. They do an excellent and thorough job. They're just to be commended, but it's good to have out there that this is what we are responsible for.
Thank you, Ruben. Anything else? If not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the policies JJA, JICDD, and JJJ, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed and abstentions? So those pass by a vote of 7-0, and we'll move to board committee updates. We'll start down at this end of the table.
Is that already report on this? 1/9? Probably not, right? We had a education meeting on the 9th.
Yes, we talked about that.
We did talk about
All
that?
right,
Okay, haven't met that.
It's a good meeting.
Yes, it was.
Was it recorded?
What?
Was it recorded?
John,
The facilities committee met today and we focused on the deliberative session and what we should say to our community about the work we've done to maintain and improve our buildings, as well as our outlook a little bit for the future. We're speaking both to the warrant article that is for additional funding to go to the Building Maintenance Trust Fund. But we also want to be sure to inform the community about the work that we've been doing on the improvements to the building, the HVAC improvements, some of the safety and security improvements, the ongoing work that relates to the energy efficiency project, which was done a number of years ago and it still has several years of funding. Several years of that is of bond payments. And what we agreed to do is we're going to put together some language to present to the community, and we're going to review it as a board and come in with something written that's hopefully short, but also to the point.
sounds good. Thank you, John.
I have nothing new to add.
Neither do I. Lisa?
For policy committee, we set goals, to complete the student-directed policies, the J policies, a few years back. And with this, these two sections of first and second readings, we have completed those goals. So the J policies are now, completely updated until the state changes things again. Rather exciting. And with that in mind, we have asked, the board to, take a hiatus for 2 months so that all of these policies can be updated, and allocated into the system online to make easy access for parents and staff and anybody. So we are going to take 2 months and come back in April for our new whoever's on the committee and to start fresh, looking at new goals.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, good to see the progress and appreciate the work
Pretty
there.
exciting.
Yeah, that's great. Sandy? Charlie?
The finance committee met, we reviewed the CTE funding options. We reviewed the current state of expenses and revenues. And the committee, excuse me, committee recommends that we move forward as soon as possible to purchase those items that we have listed in that 550K list. And that's all we did.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. So that completes board committee updates, and we'll be moving to discussion items, which include the data dashboard presentation and the diligent community proposal. So I will hand it to Ruben or
Yeah,
Leslie.
I'll
I'm
say,
not sure.
maybe a minute, just couple words. First, the data dashboard is something that we've talked about as a board for quite some time. And we've also talked about the fact that to do a proper data dashboard that's going to be meaningful and be able to be used for the benefit, the growth of our district and our community, that we needed accurate data and so forth. And so a lot of that had to do with making sure our systems all talked properly, that the data that was going into those systems was accurate and so forth. And so a lot of auditing, and then also work has been done to implement better systems. And so we have an individual who oversees that, Leslie. And then the diligent community proposal was was put together as we've been talking about policies and a better platform for that, and maybe some other opportunities as well, that a digital system could provide our school board and our community. But we did some research, and Leslie's here to propose, and a lot of this conversation, I think you're going to see that it kind of weaves together. So take it away, Leslie.
Okay, so just to, I mean, you all know me, but to reintroduce myself, because my position has changed in the last, I guess, 18 months or a year or whatever. I'm the business analyst now for the district. I'm not, Kristen is Ruben's direct support person. And Wendy has taken over all the school board work, and I had to say, Wendy, you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you. I say, like, Wendy, I haven't seen you in 2 months, because she doesn't have, but I mean, it's perfect. It's wonderful. I'm very happy. So thank you, Wendy.
But we do like seeing you. So
I'm-
yeah, so
That I'm not so intimately
She doesn't
involved
need
with
you
everything.
Yeah,
She doesn't
exactly.
need- And it's great. And Kristen Chester Gross has been doing a fantastic job. So I can finally, even though I was put in this position a while back, I wasn't able to dedicate much time to it. And now I can. And today we had a meeting, for example, about open enrollment. And that meeting was held, I facilitated that meeting, and it was held with HR, with payroll, because these are all people involved in open enrollment and what we need to do and what the rules are and how we have to get the paperwork in on time and everything. And we're working very, very hard to have a totally frank and polite and easy discussion about what everyone needs, and trying to solve problems with the tools that we have, with the people we have, and with the money we have, right? And to be able to come to good decisions that satisfy the bulk of the needs in the district. So we're going to totally revamp open enrollment. It worked for the employee. It did not work for the back office. Right, so we have to fix that, because the back office is where all the work goes, and we only have one person doing it. We cannot bury her. So we talked about this, and I'm sure you've heard some of this from Ruben about that we're trying to be a system. We were talking about how we don't like to be resources, human resources. I'm not a computer. I'm not your stapler on your desk. I'm a person. And when I get referred to as a resource, oof, I like all my hair stand up. I hate that. I hate being called a resource. And so I had said, well, maybe we're more like a system. And then Ruben said, we're like an ecosystem, right? We have to think of ourselves kind of as like a living, breathing thing, working and responding to each other and to the atmosphere around us. All right. So I think it's really important. I just want to put this out there that in my position right now, I'm finding and hearing issues from people. People know to come to me now. There's a problem here. There's a problem there. Maybe you can help me figure out how to make it better. I sit down, I spend some time interviewing people, talking to them well before we decide this needs to be a project, right? Gather information as much as I can. I've worked very hard for myself and my direct report, and also in the SAU in general, to push us to a customer service mindset. You're not calling us and we're not just giving you information, we're helping you. We want to help you all, anyone who calls in. We never want to we don't ever want to just like hand someone off to someone without information. We're customer service for the district. Our customers are internal, but we're customer service. As I said, we want to make sure we have reasonable goals based on our staff, our abilities, our money, our software. And then I implement fixes, and the fixes could involve deploying new software, which I oversee. It could involve just fixing a training problem. We had a training issue with just a change in personnel in special ed. She didn't know how to do something, put in a request to have a whole bunch of forms changed. It didn't need to be done. It was a training issue, right? So we try not to be reactionary, but to be real problem solvers. Which is why this week, Lisa, I brought up that policy, JRA. JRA is unenforceable as it's written. Like we will not be able to support it as written, So I think it's really important that when you're working on a policy or a proposal or any type of idea that you want implemented by the staff of the school, that you, before you get to the point of saying, okay, we're ready to do this, that you meet with the people who will be executing this issue. For example, a couple of years ago, when we were concerned about people petitioning to remove books from the library, the board came up with a policy that was so difficult for us to document. It took hours and hours and I'm not exaggerating, hours of meetings with 10 people in the room to figure out how in the world we would enforce the policy, how we could follow the policy, how we could build this procedure to follow the policy. We've been very fortunate. We haven't had a book challenged officially like that. We haven't had to do it, but I mean, we invested, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say 40 hours easily on just trying to figure out how to implement that. So it's really important that the board acts with us too as a team, not just the people that I get to see every day. All right. So that brings us then to data dashboards. So when I was during my interview, Ruben asked me if I could make data dashboards 4 years ago. And I couldn't because the information, first off, was in multiple systems that didn't talk to each other. They didn't have any shared values between the two systems, any shared data, so I could link up students between one system and the next. It was all just totally independent stuff that wasn't real useful. So with putting Alma in place, for those of you that have been on the board for a while, you may remember I showed you a diagram once of like a garden with a whole bunch of dying plants. Well, those plants have come to life and are talking to each other and everything's getting watered. I'll come back at some point. Anytime you want me to, tell me to come back and I'll update you on all of that. But because we've done that, Ruben, you can go to the next slide if you want. We have been able to pull information from Alma, which is our student information system, through reports and exports, from College Board reporting, which has always been there, but like now I have different access and can get in there pretty deep. Frontline Central, which is the program we put in place last year for HR, New Hampshire SAS reporting, a staff survey that I've done, and the Web to School legacy files, which is our old student information system. We did download all of those, and I have become like the master of pulling that information out. We also bought a relatively inexpensive BI tool, Crystal Reports. It's older, which is why it's still cheaper. Which helps me link all this data together. So tonight we're going to look at some of the things that I have come up with. We're going to understand that this is just like, I'm the outsider and I'm not an educator. So these are my best guesses of what would be good for you to look at. I really, really want your feedback of, I want to look at this idea or that idea. I will, do my best to start putting that together. How deep we want to go on the information. Ruben and I had talked about some things could be public facing. Some things are really for the principals to work with their staff on, right? Just that I can collect that information from you just like I do from the rest of the staff. The goal tonight is not to look at the efficacy of the data or to drill down into the data. So most of the data that you're going to see tonight is real, but it's taken as a snapshot way out of context. So I don't want any like great insights drawn from tonight's data. If you like the data, I can make you as much of it as you'd like. And also the principals, when we get to talking really much more about the data, the principals, and I'm sure the education committee want to be more involved in what we're showing. Okay, so the first one that I did, this is staff analysis. That's so small. I'm sorry for all of you. The first one I did is something that I know as a parent, I've always been interested. How long have people been at the district and how much experience do they have? So we grouped them into types of people, JREO, SAU directors, exempt and non-exempt, and then said, how much time have they had in the district? What's their average tenure in the district? How much total experience do these people have? So like your JREO people have more than 100+ years of experience, with the average person having just shy of 20 years experience, right? So this could be a good talking point also when we're addressing the public that, where we're retaining staff. Where you really see a big difference is SEU exempt people because people like myself and accounts payable and payroll, they can work in almost any industry. So we might have very little education experience, but years and years of experience. So I thought it was a useful thing to look at. The next one over to the right is longevity and experience in the JREA. All right, with the blue being the average district tenure, how long someone's been here in the district, and the pink being how long they have been in education. So you can see we have a very, I would say, a highly experienced staff, you know, and we're building, and like in the JREA, the average is 8 years, right? So hopefully we're building that longevity. That's things to look at, you know, next year. Let's see how we're doing, how we're retaining, are we keeping the longevity? The bottom left is the JREA employees. I've divided them now between people with a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and then marked the quantity of people getting the different differentials for special ed, for longevity, and the new teacher. Right, and so like here you can see that there's a larger group of people who have master's degrees who are getting longevity bonuses. Yes.
Leslie, are you saying that this is an example of the kind of data that you have, but it's not the
So
actual
this
data?
data that you're looking at right now, the employed by the district numbers are hard numbers, because those are in Frontline Central. We don't have a distinct way of saying what the person's experience is in education, which is why I did a staff survey. So we do have some holes there. So this is a real one, right? But you'll see when we get into the ones on test scores and stuff that looking at like the one test is not a useful tool, even though that might be real data. You have to look at more than 1 year or one grade to really understand if it's useful data.
Okay. So as we look at things like, for instance, there's categories, right? There's categories, there's employees, there's learners, there's then there's kind of like, all right, learners' grades, their extracurricular activities. There's a lot of different stuff that we have to, so I think what Leslie's saying is, all right, these are these categories and she's putting like, here's a bunch of stuff that we can look at. What are the things you want to zero in on? What are the things you like? What are the things you're not seeing?
And the format for seeing it. Like you also might say, well, I would like to be able to show something like this, but I don't like the format. I'd like to change how we're showing it. We don't anticipate these to be interactive dashboards that are constantly being updated. That is a huge project. You need to have special software to be able to keep launching that to your website constantly. And the instant you're out of date, someone will complain. The instant. So I would these will be snapshots, probably prepared at the end of each year to update. The last one that we had on employees was their degree versus longevity and experience. We just divided people by bachelor's and master's degree and their longevity and experience. And we were trying to keep building those numbers, and next year we'll have year over year data and we can start looking at it. So then we moved on the next slide for seniors. Now I had to be kind of careful about this because you don't want to give any identifying information, and our classes are small enough, you know, that you have to, I don't want to drill too specific because then everyone would know, oh, hey, this is what my son got. But so the first thing I've always been told is, you know, you can't do well in school unless you attend. And that first graph doesn't really bear it out. So this is interesting to start to look at, like the GPA versus attendance. The attendance is the red line, that's your attendance percentage. And the green is the GPA of those students at that time. And you could see it's really not a clear correlation, but we don't see that until we run a graph. The next one is PSATs versus SAT scores. This is for the 23-24 seniors. And that's encouraging. You see that the PSAT scores, which is your lighter line, is, you know, your SAT line is generally higher than your PSAT line. So the kids improved during the course of their studies here and did better on their PSATs. And these are direct student-to-student ratios, like this is the same cohort and their same grades. We compared SATs to cumulative scores. Some of these you'll notice they have different axes on the left and right because the axes are so different. Like your GPA for that class, that was on traditional grading. So the best you could do would be, I guess, 110 point something if you're in an honors program. And then compared to what their SAT scores were. And there's a pretty, there's a correlation of sorts there. And the last thing we did was, how's the kids' GPA compared to the co-curriculars they're attending? Because that's another thing that we always talk about, get the kid involved. Unfortunately, like there's a note here that I only really have sports teams to look at now and a few selected clubs. We're trying to get the teachers who are running clubs to use Alma, at least for their roster, and then I can pull out a lot better information. So that's the type of information I could give you about a specific class. All right, I did attendance, and I just thought this was incredibly interesting that 8th grade attendance isn't so great. All right, the 8th graders are like seniors somehow in the middle school, right? So we compared it by school, we compared it by grade, and then I compared the 2 elementary schools so you can see what's happening with attendance. If we have a problem someplace, you could start to see that. And then AP testing. Now this is sample data also because we run the risk here of exposing a child. So for this one right here, this is sample data. But what I did for this was I took the green is the class grade they got on their AP class. The gray is the average of all the classes they took in that general subject. So the first one, we're looking at English language composition, right? So the gray line is their class average. This could help us say, hey, maybe we're putting kids in English language who don't belong there. Maybe they're not ready yet for the AP class, for example. I mean, I could tell you 100% this happened to me as a kid, because I was in a very heavily tracked school. You were an honor student, that's it, you're taking calculus, so I failed. And then the red line would be, if this were real data, to compare their AP score to their AP classroom grade and their ability in the subject in general. So like I said, this is test information, this isn't real, but this would help us determine if we were overgrading in some areas, undergrading, maybe not getting the curriculum quite right. You know, I don't know how these things are determined, but that's the purpose for doing these 3 things. So I showed 2 sample AP tests so you could get an idea of that. After that, we move on to, and I did a sample for ELA and for math of New Hampshire SAS scores. These are looking at the same cohort of children. This one is 3rd grade to 4th grade. So the 3rd graders in 1 year moving into 4th grade. Okay, the red, it's orange. The orange line is their New Hampshire SAS score in 3rd grade, and their 4th grade, the blue line is their 4th grade score. Now, one of the things to keep in mind in New Hampshire SAS, your scores should not, they're not, the scale is not the same. You're supposed to be higher the next year, right? If 500 was the median score, next year you want 550 or 600 or something to show that you have moved into the next level. But that's very unclear here. That's not real clear, which is why we go to the chart on the right, which shows, if you could move over to the right, Ruben, which shows the New Hampshire SAS levels by student by the score, right? So by their level. So the orange blocks, which are the ones that move at even steps, that's their 3rd grade marks, right? And then the blues are their 4th grades. So you could see a bunch of kids who scored in level 1 did get up to level 2 in the next year. That's terrific, right? In level 2, we only have a small handful of kids who got up above that. In level 3, only 1, right? So we could see what's happening then when we look at year over year. Next year, we'll have the next year for these children, and we can add to it. And at the bottom, this is the percentage of students on the left. That was their New Hampshire SAS grade, the percentages of children who were in level 1 is red, 4 is blue, 4 is above proficiency. Green is the New Hampshire SAS considers that proficient, I believe, versus their New Hampshire SAS 4th grade level. So again, it's another snapshot to let you see how the kids are doing in New Hampshire SAS. Then when we go to the next page, we break it down by elementary school. All right, so we can see if there's a trend between the 2 elementary schools, or if one elementary school is outperforming or underperforming, we can see it right there. Let's break the two schools apart. Now, I am continuing to do this even when we're looking at tests in the middle school. I'm saying, where did the child come from? To see if this is a lasting issue. If we had, for example, what we considered a deficiency in 6th grade, when they come from the 2 different schools, and we say kids from school X didn't do so great. Well, is that repaired the next year? Like, does the middle school catch them up? Right, so that's why we're doing it by school. And they're the same basic charts. They're the New Hampshire SAS year over year by grade and then by level. And now the bars at the bottom, the colored bars at the bottom are comparing the same thing, the 3rd grade to the 4th grade by school. And then I repeat this. I don't think we need to go through it because I've talked about it now. I show you the exact same thing for math, New Hampshire SAS math. So all the same ideas, the exact same graphs, new data. And like I said, this is real data, but I think just pulling one grade at a time is not really analyzing data. So I would hate for decisions to be made based on this, just so you can see. And I did it by school, by originating school, and you see these are 5th to 6th graders, so I'm tracking them by their originating school. And then the 10th page is different. Science is different because the children do not take this test year over year. They take it in 5th grade, they take it in 8th grade and 11th grade. So I have to compare different cohorts. So there are a lot of variables there, and I will probably need assistance from David Dustin or from the principal, someone who knows what's going on to help me. But we can see here that the lower end of the spectrum, like to the middle of the spectrum, was pretty much right on track year over year. But in the 23-24 year, the kids in 8th grade, you had a group of them who really performed better. I don't know why, but it's something that we can now say we can look at what's going on. So here you've just got to remember that this is not looking at the same cohort of kids. It's comparing one year's kids to the next year's kids. But it's all the same graphs, the same idea on the graphs. And again, we'll do it on the next page by originating school. And then we can also, if you go to page, what page am I on now here? I don't know, the one that says sample data, if you just keep going, Ruben. Yeah, that's it. So this is sample data, and I want to explain this. Again, I don't want to expose students. I also don't want to publish that like a class is having a problem before David Dustin has a chance to, or any principal has a chance to really dig into the data and decide if they want to speak to people. You know, we want to treat our staff professionally and not ambush them by publishing something that no one's had a chance to look at. But we're comparing, those are the New Hampshire SAS levels, the bars, and the line is the classroom grades. This again will let, yes, John.
Leslie, what are the SAS levels?
When you take a New Hampshire SAS test, you get a score like 600, but then you fall into a level with them 1, 2, 3, or 4. 3 is considered proficient, 4 is exceeding proficiency, right? So the first set of short bars, those kids earned a 1. They were in the New Hampshire SAS level 1.
So
But
SAS stands for Scholastic Aptitude something?
It's, yeah, the New Hampshire SAS is the state test.
State Achievement System,
State Achievement System.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
right. So in this example, you could see that and like I said, it's sample data, that the children who earned a level 1 on New Hampshire SAS have much higher classroom grades. All right, we'd have to identify why that is. Is it a problem? Now, one of the things you'll always see is this rapid climb and then descent. All right, because New Hampshire SAS is just a straight up 1, 2, 3, 4, and we grade with decimals. All right, so we've done this, I've done this thing where we say, if you got up to a 1.4, you're still considered a 1. But if you got a 1.5 to a 2.4 in class, we put you in the 2 bucket. So you'll always see this rise and spike like this. So don't really worry about that. You're looking at the overall trend. So once we have time with the principals and the teachers and everything to make sure we're displaying this in an accurate way and it accurately represents what's going on in the classroom, we may decide that maybe we need to, some change of curriculum, maybe we need some teacher development, or maybe everything's fine. I don't know yet. So that's the idea behind that one. And I show on the next slide, ELA sample data based by school. Same thing with like the same graphs you saw before, but this one's based by school, so you could compare the school years in the different schools by each other to say, hey, maybe and here again, it's 7th to 8th graders, but we care about where they went to elementary school. Now, maybe we won't. Maybe after doing this for 2 or 3 years, we say, you know what, that doesn't really matter. But right now, we don't know if it matters. So those are what I've done. Things that I would like to add are incident reporting, the number of incidents per school, the severity of the incident, the number of suspensions, things like that. I know we also have the ability, I forget what they call them in Alma, but there's like a praise incident, like something good has happened and the teacher wants to record those. I feel those are drastically underreported. So by just saying like, oh, we had 3, it makes it sound like it's terrible, right? But I just don't think the teachers are actively using that, and I'd really like to encourage that. Jen Horn, who's the director of special ed, would like to work with me on some special reports that she'd like for special ed, but that's not information I can pull from any major system. She has to compile data for me. Probably a salary report of some part for people who aren't like the non-exempt people in the SAU, people who aren't on a payment scale. And I did do, but I forgot to add this, I had done an analysis of voting results by town, which I thought could be useful to the board to say, okay, for example, and it hasn't, thank goodness, but like the special ed trust fund, if we go to X amount, we know we might have problems based on our history. So I had started looking at that. So that's what I'm doing. I would love for you to take time, look at this, think about it. Let me know what else you'd like to look at, how else you'd like to see it, and then where you'd like to show it. Right? So there's a lot more thought to this than just producing the data.
Yeah, I agree. I think all those things I know are on my mind as far as certain things are going to be useful to us, to the school, but then there are also, I know, and you're conscious of this, like privacy issues and just, is it a good idea to like, who's this data really useful for and who should have it? I think this is all great progress, and I know I'll take the time to go through it and provide my feedback. And I think the individual committees, depending on how they use the education committee and finance committee, should kind of do the same and provide like maybe feedback on a few useful data sets.
Yes, Lisa.
Yes, I would like to say this is exceptional and enlightening, and I am so grateful that you took the time to just play with this. And this is candy to me. I love looking at data like this. And you've answered an immediate question that I had that's very relevant right now. There's a lot of people concerned about why we are costing so much when our scores are so low. And I kept wondering about attendance and truancy, and to see some grades, some averaging at about 4 weeks missed a year in an entire grade. I'm seeing 2 to 3, the 7th, 8th, and 12th grade.
Yeah, 8th grade.
Missing about 4 weeks of
Yes,
school
it's a
each
lot.
year. There is a parental responsibility in this, and to be able to see it visually like that helps me a great deal. So thank you. This is very nice to see.
Good,
I
I'm
love
glad.
seeing the testing with the grades too, and because we wonder about the competency grades and where they're going, and so having that data is important to kind of see and play with. I like seeing those numbers up there too, but
Yeah, I think we have to like level set expectations for that data, especially since the high school is really just embracing, just moved to that 4-point scale and everything. So I need a lot of time with David Dustin to talk about that and maybe other members of the education committee. But these were just things like, as a parent, that I said, hey, some of these were as a parent, hey, I'd like to see this. Because I think that's the time a lot of the public looks at dashboards when they're trying to pick, what town am I gonna live in? Where am I gonna move to? Oh, this school is doing great, or this school is not doing great, or whatever. It's a way to see what's going on. So Charlie, I know you had strong opinions about data dashboards, so especially eager to hear from you. All right.
First off, I think it's fantastic. I've been asking 5 years now for a data dashboard. When I finally get one, I'll be extremely happy. There's a lot of information here. There's a lot of data. From my perspective, just speaking from my perspective, the data dashboard should be something that's relevant to the board and the decisions that the board has to make. And when we're talking about proficiency data, all right, what we're looking at is high-level data, and then if we need to, we can drill down and get down to this level. But in reality, this is the kind of level that I would expect to see teachers and administrators go to find out how they're performing and what they can do to improve their particular performance. Because from a board perspective, I'm looking at a big picture overall. How are we doing as a district? Not how are we doing as a third grade in RMS?
Right.
I may end up there, but that would not be my first thing. And also, I think from a board perspective, we ought to be looking at financial information. We ought to be looking at enrollment information. We ought to be looking at, one of the things that I would like to see on a board dashboard are what are the outstanding board action items that we should be looking at every time we meet to say, how are we doing in that respect? I'm not going to, I can say that there are many different things that we said we were going to do as a board, we forget about, and they come back to bite us, or some of them never even get done. So I think it's important from a board perspective to decide that, hey, we want to look at this thing week after week and see how we're doing on that. Okay. So those are some of the thoughts that I have. And again, the fact that we have a lot of data makes it very, very difficult because you can get overwhelmed by the amount of information that you can get. And what you really want to be able to do is only look at the data you need to look at to know how you're doing, and then know how to fix the problems that you identify. First, identify the problems and know how to fix those. And that's where all of this detailed information comes in very, very handy. So
Yeah,
I think it's amazing, the information that you pulled.
Great. The other thing that we can do is, as we mature in this, we can set thresholds and say, look, if we meet this threshold, we're okay, and switch to exception reporting.
Mhm.
We only need to look at things when there's a problem,
Right.
right? And that will cut down on things dramatically, so.
There is one data point that has been kicking around that I've been wondering about for a while now, and it would be very interesting to have something, I think, to have something like this on a dashboard, which is, what is our involvement of non-students?
Oh, me too. Right?
Like, how
Yep.
many non-students do we have enrolled in our construction trade or program, or in our sports, or coming in for specials?
Or just how many none?
Well,
Period.
sports,
I mean, just knowing that number alone.
I can give that to you tomorrow, actually, because of Alma, we have done this.
Yep.
We have put first, by the state, we're required, any student coming, like a homeschooler coming in to take biology, for example, we have to keep track of them. A homeschooler coming in to play sports, they are in Alma in a special grade level as an out-of-district student. So we, not out of, but like not in the building
Right.
student. I don't want to confuse those terms. So we have been collecting that information. I just didn't think of doing it for this thing, but that's a very good one.
I think that's going to be something that we'll continue to talk about as a community school. And when people talk about, well, you have dwindling enrollment, but then if we can say, but in fact, if you look at these numbers, our numbers are not dwindling, they're just kind of
They're shifting, right? Well, we
Yeah.
support special ed in the charter schools for our
Right.
children.
I would,
That would be another interesting thing to say.
yeah,
Now, homeschooled families or families in charters are supposed to notify us, but I gotta tell you, the success rate is very low on that. We tend to find a lot of children as they come into the high school and want to play on a sport. And then we find this 14-year-old that we never knew about and they've lived in town all their life.
Yeah.
You know, so but that has been one of the benefits of the Alma system, that we can find these because we keep track of them. And once we find them, we don't age them out until they would have graduated from here. So we do try to keep track of them. Okay, so if there's nothing else on this, Ruben and I, independent of what happened here at the board, Ruben and I met in May, I think, or April, or whenever it was, with Diligent Community. We had been talking to them on and off about using board docs. Okay, board docs. We were looking at a way to better host policies, to better host minutes, handle agendas, agenda updates, and all of our records involved with the board, including committee meetings and everything. So I did send you all, and I don't think there's any need to go through the nitty-gritty on this proposal. You have it. You're all smart people, and I trust you can read that. So I'm going to instead look at my notes that I took from this meeting, which I have. Not there. I'll do that. Okay. Oh, I did. Sorry. Well, oh, I know I can get to it. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, 1 second. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
You have a question, John?
Yes, I got a question for Lisa, but I don't want to interrupt you.
That's okay. I'm just searching for something that I know is here.
All right, so I've got, I guess, sort of two questions. One, this presentation that you done for us tonight, is this available on the school website? Can we?
No, because the information has not been looked at by all the principals carefully. I finished this last week.
Okay.
So we have to have a meeting with the administration and have this conversation, and then you, as a board, have to decide what you want to show to the public.
I'm just wondering, like flashing it by us tonight is, nice introduction, but it doesn't really allow me to look at the charts or the way the data is presented closely enough to really give you to know for myself how useful it is.
So the charts are attached to the agenda. You
Yeah,
can
they're
look at
attached. You
each
can get
chart
them
on
up.
the agenda.
They're attached to the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that was.
So they are technically available because the agenda is posted on the website, but we have not made a page on the website called data dashboards yet, because I don't know yet. That's not up to me to decide what we display and how we display it.
All right, so then part two of my question. You mentioned that your job has shifted and obviously you're doing important things. Do you have any involvement with the website in terms of what gets posted or where?
So yes, and what we have decentralized that. So each administrative assistant in each school can manage their own school's pages. Okay, Karen's takes care of the high school and Carolyn. Now, I still have locked it up pretty tight because I haven't taught them how to do everything, and I don't know how to do everything either. I have to learn sometimes when they ask me about something. But they can all update their news items, they can change their front page, they have certain pages that are kind of lists of documents like for their newsletters and stuff, and they're doing that all in their own schools now. Kristen Testagrossa also has full access to all 4 websites, can make any changes necessary and does. Wendy has the school board pages, so she can update those and we don't have, so there's no more depending on just the one person. Kristen and I have full access to everything. Andrea Thane can do the food services pages, so we've worked on it that way. I even think like Leanne and Linda can update pages. So we've tried to take care of it that way.
Okay, and so one of the things that came up, we did our quick review of committee updates, and the education committee met on January 9th, and I asked if it was recorded, and apparently it was. That's great. But when who would be in charge of well, is that posted? Can I look at it if I want to? And if not, who decides when those things are?
I do not know if Wendy is posting them or if we haven't talked about it. So that's could probably just be a gap that I haven't covered with Wendy, that if we have things, because you do have access to all the committee pages, I believe. So I just don't think those are getting to, because I think David is recording those, right? He's recording the education committee meetings, and I don't think we're getting them from David, so we can post them.
So that would be an internal decision of the high school then? Is that?
Either that or, well, no, actually, because that page is owned by the SAU, the committee pages are owned by the SAU. So we would need to speak to David and say, we have to work on this. So we're still finding where the gaps are. But that's a good gap to know about. I didn't realize that was happening. But I'll speak to David and any other committee chair. I can speak, but I do believe you're posting minutes when you get them, right, for committee meetings? No? Okay, we'll talk. It's all right. There's so much to cover for individual people, it's a lot. So anyway, as I was saying, Ruben and I met with the Diligent Committee back in June for this idea of board documents and hosting board documents and communicating from the board and running through agenda updates and minutes and all that other stuff. And we were very impressed, right? They have a beautiful package. Basically, you could do a lot of nice things in board docs. At the time, it was June, right? We had not budgeted any expense for this. We were thinking about how are we going to do this and what are we going to do? Plus, we were looking for a school board secretary. All right, so my immediate thought was, hey, I'm barely treading water here. I am not putting in new software while I'm training a school board secretary, a new secretary, trying to do my new job. Like, it's just impossible. We just have to maintain. This goes back to do the right job with the right tools that we have at the time for the right amount of money. And I would like to add without killing anybody. Right? Our goal is not to give anyone an anxiety attack. And, so Ruben and I said, we have to table this. There's no way we can do this implementation at this time. But they did give us a proposal. And at the time, there would be a $1,200 implementation fee. It's a $6,000 annual subscription for board docs, which is agendas, minutes, and supporting documents. We were interested in a $2,500 add-on, so you could run committees through board docs as well. You could have all the same types of support for committees, and we thought that was worthwhile. Like, as John just mentioned, the recording's not posted. Well, we'd have it in board docs. And the policy package, which, I know is a big bone of contention that we want to get off the wiki if we can. So it's $1,300 and change for the first year. And then after that, it would be $1,200 a year because there would be no implementation fee. And then I know board docs came up during a meeting, whether it was last meeting or 2 meetings ago. And in particular, there was discussion about board docs Lite. So I called back our rep and I asked him about board docs Lite. So board docs was purchased by Diligent and upgraded and changed. Board docs Lite is going out of service. It's end of life. All right. And the new product is actually Diligent. I'm still saying board docs, but it's Diligent Community. All right. So board docs Lite is not an option to purchase. All right, so he gave us a pricing module, which is virtually identical, but they have waived the implementation fee, which is $1,200. And they have, but this pricing expires in the first week of February. Right, so this is a big decision that has to be made. It's an implementation project that would have to be done. It would take my time and Wendy's. It would be something new for Wendy to learn. We'd have to obviously train someone else because Mike Cotton is largely supporting the wiki, and that would go away. So we might consider bringing someone else into the project to support board docs. I'm not a decision maker on this, but I can tell you I was impressed with Diligent. I'm a little concerned about the timeline. We got a lot going on in the SAU, but I do know it's a big need. So it's for something for the board to discuss and say, do they want to go with this? I have not found a real apples to apples competitor. There were other solutions, And if someone is familiar with another solution that they think is worthwhile for me to investigate, I'd be more than happy. But I haven't found a real apples to apples, like someone, they do this really well, or they do that really well. This looks like the whole package. And I'm in favor of less vendors. It's just easier. So I don't know when you meet again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we meet next Monday.
We love the meeting.
I mean, for that, like hearing what you just said there, I think we'd all probably support an upgraded system, but I think first want to be sure that, again, you guys had the means and the I don't want to say resources, right? But I'll say it. People,
The humans.
the people and the plan to do the work, I think that.
Well, I think.
And,
if-
they always they tell you, oh yeah, this.
Well, if we can contract for the price and begin implementation before the end of the fiscal year, those are our requirements. We don't have to have it all installed and up and running before the fiscal year, but if you buy something in this fiscal year, you have to use it in this fiscal year.
Yeah, yeah.
If we aim for this to try to have it running in the next year and we work on the implementation in May and June, instead of I have a very busy March and April. And then if we say, okay, we could sign this, we could do this contract to delay the implementation a month or two, that would probably help the workflow. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Okay.
To have and then to have things fully operational, like in good flow by the beginning of the school year. Because you'd have the
By the beginning
summer.
of the school year,
Yeah,
yes, not by the
beginning
beginning of July 1st.
No, but July,
Yes.
August, when we still have school board.
So our couple of
processes, we
meetings in
still
July and
be able
August
to
might be a
Make our
little,
mistakes during that time
Right.
frame.
those meetings might be a little hybrid and let's try this tonight and see how it works type of thing as we're doing the deployment. All right, actually it would be good, because those at least the first one tends to be an easier meeting, and maybe we can not have too many things to deal with in the one meeting and see how everything works while we're getting policies switched over. And part of their implementation is they will help us move the policies from the wiki into this.
That's the main motivator. I had someone ask me a question over the last week about our policy referring to posting flyers in this newsletter. And I looked it up and I felt like I found the right policy. But oh my goodness, I thought, are there other policies around this? Is there another place I should be looking? Should I spend an hour reading every possible, So for me, the main goal of something like this would be to facilitate that policy search so that I knew if I was sending out a policy, I was sending out all of it.
Right.
That was relevant. And that is very difficult to do now. And
Yes.
Would this make that easier?
Yes. Now, it might also require more steps in implementation. I have not seen yet, and it would be the next meeting we have with Diligent. If you said, yes, we want to continue with this, to have another conversation about like, do I have to tag every policy? There has to, or does it OCR the policies where it's going to read them and know, like DocStar reads things and know. If I want to find anything out about a Pressman child that's been in DocStar, I just have to type in their name. Because it OCRs things, which is fantastic. And it has been too long since we spoke to them that I could tell you whether it works by tags or by OCR.
Mm-hmm.
But we can find that out. But that is one of our goals, that we have a much more searchable policy database.
Now, it also says that they can put minutes in it.
Yep.
So if it's searchable, you should be able to search minutes for doc.
That I do not know. I don't know if it's searchable apart,
Well, that's
all parts of their platform, but we
that's-
will ask.
That's, yeah. Because that's just as important as to be able to
Might be more.
go back and find out when the board addressed a certain topic and what the results of that was.
It was when we reviewed it. So I don't know the answer to that either. We didn't ask, but
What are your thoughts, Lisa?
Searchability was a key feature and it was slick, everything they showed. So you're not just talking about seeing the final minutes. It would actually be behind the scenes, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Leslie, but the person working in there to kind of manage everything has like their own workflow
Yes.
and it just organizes everything. So you have your draft minutes, your draft of draft minutes. all
You
in
keep
there.
track of the communication between
Yeah.
the board secretary and the board, all in one place, so.
Keeps
if-
tracks of
Right,
edits.
if Wendy goes on vacation, nobody needs special access to something, as long as you have another user set up who can also do this work.
Yeah.
So it helps with coverage and things like that.
Does it have a tickler?
I don't know.
So when
like
a
I
meeting
said,
is
we've seen the
scheduled,
big
if
presentation.
it doesn't get minutes, it sends a message saying, hey, I haven't got any minutes for this
Right.
meeting.
Yeah. Maybe.
Are you able to find $6,000 this week to buy this?
Well,
I
we need 12.
mean,
Well,
12.
yeah.
It's
So,
12.
Yeah, I think that if I think we're gonna be okay to do
Do
that.
we need 12 now? I thought it was prorated for half a year.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're correct, Lisa. It is, they will prorate the first year.
Yeah.
So you are right, I'm sorry.
Oh, they will prorate this
Yes,
year?
they will prorate. They do school year billing. So our first bill would be from the implementation date to June 30th. And the second one would be for a full year. Now, I don't know when they're gonna request the full year, but we generally cannot pay that until the next year. So we.
So,
will
so Sandy, if we get the particle board tables as opposed to the, I'm just joking. We
Poor
have them.
Sandy.
Yeah. No, we're definitely getting the better service. Have to. There's no way we would buy something that's gonna fall apart in a couple of years. It's money there.
Then I
If
would
we
like to
got the
make a
particle
motion.
board, could we give more money back next year?
We're gonna get the proper solution instead of.
Then I would like to make a motion, pending Ruben's ability to find the funds in a reasonable place, that we purchase diligence for the remainder of the school year.
Should that be the motion, or should the motion be that we further investigate, right? We want to get like a little bit more information about all of this stuff. And then if it meets Ruben's approval, then do the purchase.
I guess we're gonna be meeting next Monday, so. Do we need to
Please.
make any sort of motion right now, or do you want to come back? I really don't want us to do anything and then have us.
You
decide it's
said,
not the right
well,
fit.
you said that the pricing is good till when?
7th, I think it says the 7th.
So we have some time. So if there are some specific questions that
February
we'd like
7th.
to have answered, we can probably go back to them and have.
I'll call them
those-
tomorrow.
Yeah, have those answers before the next board meeting. If you'd like to wait, but
I won't be here, but know that my vote is, I want this as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yep.
It's like someone gave her a Christmas present.
Yeah.
And then
They're
took it
taking-
away.
No, we're just moving it a little to the sides. You just have
I
to be
mean-
patient.
your call, she was making a motion, so it's.
Yeah.
So I'll get more information, get it all to Ruben and to Wendy. So hopefully at the next meeting, you can vote to make this purchase.
Sounds good.
Okay, good.
All right, I'll rescind my
Did you
motion.
want to rescind
I
it?
would
or-
like it now, but if people are feeling that they want to wait a week, that's fine with me.
What's the
I
difference
rescind my
waiting a
motion.
week? What are we finding out in a week?
I
Other
just think I
questions?
should get answers to the questions you just
Are,
presented.
are the minutes searchable? Was that one?
Yeah, are the minutes searchable or, there was more about
Policy.
Well,
it
the
was
policy-
another keyword or.
how the policies are tagged. Because some of these things might be totally fine to you. It might delay your ability to use everything fully. I want to find out about that. Like if I have to tag everything, that means we'll get the policies in, but the tagging might not be done right away, things like that.
So will these two questions being answered change our decision? Is this a make or a break deal? Like if we say. Yes, it is.
If it's not searchable,
Yeah, it's not
you know,
searchable. I don't.
we've got
think
that
so.
today.
So if I can have a minute with it. So I have done extensive research on Diligent and I use it regularly in my employed school district. The policy publisher is the piece of it that we are really desperately needing. and to get away from the wiki. The committee manager add-on of 2,500 is with a package of 5, so that limits us to 5 committees. That's a fun thing. I'm just not sure that that's necessary, especially as we're trying to implement the policy piece of it. If we have 6 months, we have a prorated fee. This would be we'd be asking for very little right now to simply get this started. In that time, we'd have 6 months to look at the committee thing and think if we want to add that on in July, or for the next budget season. But for now, I think they're giving us a really good price for right now, getting the policies accessible.
Right,
So-
so we have till February 7th with this really good price. So I'm not gonna be able to implement it if we sign a contract tomorrow. I still can't work on it. So I don't think we lose anything by getting more information and being 100% positive we are presenting to you what you want. I don't think we're hurting anything, because I can't work on it tomorrow. You know, I'm sorry.
What else?
So you
And
work
nothing.
with, you work
I
with
sit around and
Diligent,
I
are
do my
the
nails.
policies searchable?
Yes.
Yeah, we want to be,
Policies are surgical.
we have, but I want to find out how,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we deliver what you're expecting, or this was our meeting today that I was talking about with Frontline and with the open enrollment. The title of that meeting was Expectations. So we were all 100% on the same page, that we knew what this project was from beginning to end, and we knew what our jobs were. So no one could turn around in 3 months and say, wait a second, I thought I'm getting this. Not that we have that type of, you know, like, no, there's no back, I don't want to imply that there's backbiting. But if someone had an expectation and I didn't understand it, you know, they're not going to be happy with the project. So we don't lose the pricing if we wait a week. And I could get you more information and you can make a good vote.
Sounds good.
And we know your vote is yes.
My vote is yes.
No proxy votes. No, we don't do.
I know, right?
What is it? Is there any-
From the airplane.
But I don't think
I'll
you'll
be-
find anybody on the board who, would vote against. it.
Right.
Lisa, is there any information that you could anticipate coming in that would change your vote? I mean, 'cause
No.
you say that you've used this. program
Yes,
before,
there's
so
none.
you're more familiar.
In part because there truly isn't another alternative. That's this directed and useful for schools. Like this is not a school company, school directed business. They do a lot of businesses. There's very few that suit schools as well as this. This is and suits small schools. Like a lot of these companies are used to much larger information that they're trying to organize. That they do small school districts, this quality is a really nice feature.
I have another question.
Sure.
Did I hear you say something about that we might need some additional technical support or consulting to
No,
fully implement?
right now Wendy is handling 90% of the school board work. But Mike Cotton is managing the wiki. So Wendy gets a policy done and we send it to Mike and Mike gets it up on the wiki and everything and however, whatever else he does. And he'll tie links back to other documents and stuff. So we're not doing that right now. That's like a little piece of this project that's been handed off to Mike. So that's a little bit of responsibility that will come into the superintendent's office for Wendy. But what Wendy is doing right now, not that I'm taking the minutes and everything, but updating the website and putting the minutes out there, doing the agenda can be done by other people in the office who have skills in Acrobat or in Google Docs or anything. But we need to train somebody else. We have to have Wendy, myself, and somebody else trained as backup for maintaining board docs, for working through board docs, and then also to learn how to do this policy updating and everything. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. Wendy has to be out for a while and I'm either super busy or coincides with my vacation. We can't have nobody running it. And right now, other people could step in and they can't step in if we don't train them in board docs.
So would you anticipate Mike Cotton would maintain a role as backup?
I don't think so. I think we'd probably make use of maybe Kristen in the office or Andrew. I mean, it depends on workload that everybody has. It's another thing we were talking about today. Some people have very cyclical workloads in the office, very, very intense highs, like right now in finance with doing W-2s and everything, very, very intense high, and then you have a lull. Right, and like, when can people do different work to even out their workload? So I would think Mike would be released from this. I think he'd have a party,
Okay,
right? I don't think he would mind.
yeah, thank you.
All right, anything else? And if not, I think we'll put this on the docket for next Monday.
And I will send you a new
And
report.
talk
I'll
about it
send you
then.
another report.
That's excellent. All right, very good. Thank you very much, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Now we go to our second session of public comments. So we don't no longer have anybody in the room, but
May I make a very brief public comment? I'm a Jaffrey resident,
sure.
and this is for teachers. Okay, not for, I mean, we can all listen to it, but tonight I was just notified that my 11th grade math teacher died. My Facebook feed is exploding because this man made a real difference. So when you don't think you make a difference, he made a difference. Because I was a very bad math student.
And look at you now.
No, I'm not a good math student.
Thanks, Leslie.
Mhm.
Anybody online? All right. I think we just had one more board matter. We don't need to get into too much detail, but as you guys know, we have a deliberative session coming up on February 5th. I know at least last year, I think it was effective how we, split up the duties. Certainly, these are all board, voted and developed articles, and I think the board should play a prominent role at the meeting. So I wanted to at least start a discussion. I saw that Carrie had sent out maybe a draft presentation, at least to me today, to start looking at. And I wanted to at least start the discussion for maybe some areas of responsibility, for that meeting. So I think we'll need certainly people to, well, who's going to be there and who's not going to be there is the first question. Right, so
Be out of town.
Lisa won't be there and Kim won't be there, so it's John, Christine, me, Sandy, and Charlie will be there to present, and I assume that, obviously Ruben, you'll be there.
Wouldn't miss it. These are fun.
Anyways, I think we should, we don't need to decide now, maybe, afterwards, but if people have a preference as to what they may want to speak about, I'll ask you to think about it. Obviously, we have a meeting the Monday beforehand, but I think maybe this week we should be started on, so, the development of that. Go ahead,
So
John.
Chris, thank you for bringing this up.
Yep.
I think it's a good thing, and I think this is an ideal time. Because if you're gonna say something to any one of these warrant articles, you really want to give it some thought. And, take some time, you want to be concise. So. I think I mentioned earlier, I'll be glad to say something about facilities and why we think that that's something that the community should support. Hoping to, at the same time, inform the community at least a little bit that we've been looking at our assets, their assets, and trying to protect. That we're trying to be responsible. And I certainly would hope that if whatever I say, if I'm going to speak to that the other committee members chime in if there's something I miss or they think could be better said. And of course, I think Ruben's role is key in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that doesn't mean that in addition to what Ruben says about the budget, that others like yourself, shouldn't speak to it. That's my thought.
And my plan is to be very brief with anything that I would do, and that if you want me to not do something, and have the board only be the ones to do something, that's fine too. I am committed to making certain that we have some information around CTE and trying to get that video developed by that time. Probably we'll get it just before then if we do. And that, I mean, again, that's short, 3 minutes, told them no longer than that. And try to make sure that there's time for people to discuss what they want to discuss during the time we're all there. Debate what people want to debate.
Although I won't be there, the slideshow that I edited for the final slideshow for the school board of the year has a lot of images alluding to the food service and the nursery, and so that final one, I think it's 41 slides, but that might be a resource to kind of have in the background or something.
Well, have you shared that with us previously? Maybe that's something we can all take a look at, you know, to see if there's anything there we can.
Yeah, I
poach.
think, who did I share it with? I think I sent it. Should see.
I mean, there might be something good in there.
It's beautiful. And it
Why
doesn't
don't you-
get up
why
on
don't you
the
send that
school
out again,
website
didn't you?
either.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Just keep in mind, any presentation you want large type in dark colors, or it fades out terribly on that screen, especially at a distance. So if you've done a beautiful graph with pastels, darken them all, darken the type and make it larger.
So if we do decide that some of these slides could be helpful, can we share them with you and ask you to, you or to us? You know,
Yes.
you or someone you were.
Yes, I'm gonna look at the one from Ruben and Carrie as well. That's on my plate to do.
We did that last year, I
Yes,
think,
I did.
because I made,
And
I like, because I
imagine-
like pastels and they're washy.
They
and
wash
so
totally out. You can't see it.
I was told that I was not allowed to put any documents out like that until she
Yeah,
looks
that's
at
why
them.
when you're doing a
So I guess to wrap this up, right, we have a draft. I think Carrie, did Carrie send it to everybody? I had asked her a specific question, so maybe she just shared it with me because some suggested graphs for the budget. Maybe we could share that with everybody
Yep.
and being careful to not be making any decisions or discussion. Let's all have a look at it and we can come together and assign
Leslie,
different areas that people might be interested in presenting.
I do think it would be very useful. I'm gonna take you up on that offer to have some of that information about the number of non-students who participate in our school.
Sure.
I think that should be part of our narrative.
I can get you something tomorrow, Christine, because that is at my fingertips. That's an easy one. We will have the Girl Scouts doing the color guard. We'll have someone singing the national anthem. And I did notice, I think in the high school, they were looking, or one of the schools put out a thing to teachers, if you'd like to have students available in the beginning, like to present something. I don't know, they're talking about maybe having little tables for the kids.
Yeah, I think that
To make some-
you'll find that there'll be some elementary and middle school or maybe high school, whether there's individuals there or just some presentations around. This is about education. And so we want to make that obvious about education. So if there's been some projects or some writing samples or people, there may be some kids that can speak to that as individuals come in to the center that night, that's going to be the focus of.
And we'll also run a slideshow of pictures before the meeting like we did last year. That was very well received.
All right, so I think just I'll ask everyone to think about it. And maybe I can I know John, we may run into each other tomorrow and I can contact everybody individually afterwards, just to be sure we're kind of following all the protocols. And that's all I had. I think we just have one more item and that's the adjournment.
Actually, I've got.
Yeah,
a
go ahead,
board
John.
matter I'd like to
Yeah,
mention.
absolutely.
Ruben and you and I were in communication a little bit about this question of student achievement on state assessments, and decided that certainly tonight this wasn't the ideal time to do that. We do have another meeting coming up next week. I don't know if it makes sense to try to include something. One of the things we talked about was the possibility of some of the principals talking about where they see the trajectory of student achievement. What's your thinking at this point, Ruben?
Yeah, certainly I had some conversation with them. I believe that we could get some representation here, whether it be the principals themselves or assistant principals or I don't know if I can get I know that there's one or two who wouldn't be able to make it.
Understood.
But I think that we can give it a go. I think there's a lot of materials that have been created, some of which has been shared with the education committee, but I think that it's an important conversation to have with the entire board. To make sure that people have updates of, what is going on, what's various forms of data, perhaps not super deep, and super long, but give you the opportunity to ask questions, because I know that you face community members who are going to ask you a lot of questions, and the more you understand, the more you're able to confidently provide the answer, or at least be able to know where to direct them to the information that they're looking for.
I would certainly like that, to have a better handle on answers.
I get all my information from Facebook. I've learned a lot about myself, and so lately, so it's been fun. A lot of really factual information out there. So that's where I get my information. But no, if we want some good information,
I'm gonna take that as
oh, that's a joke. Yeah, it's a funny joke.
so,
But I do know that people legitimately have some questions from you. We will obviously monitor social media pretty tightly, so we do that. And even if there's information that's not correct that's out there, which of course, a lot of it is incorrect, there's still interest around certain topics.
That's
and
right.
there are certainly, partial truths or partial bits of information that are important that maybe need to have a filling so that people have the entire picture. And so the more information you have, the more the conversations are legit. The conversations and the concern are legitimate.
Legitimate,
So
yeah.
never about that. That's not the issue.
So the education committee did see what Ruben was talking about, the difference in the writings and the amount, not only the volume, but the quality of the writing of the elementary schools. Okay, we did see that in the education committee. What we didn't see and what we asked for was the test results. Okay, they didn't have them. They were going to have them. I asked them to have them, in the next quarter. They said they would try, but they didn't think they would have them until after the end of the year. So even if there was any progress, I mean, you can see what certain students, that's not every student, certain students did well. Okay, we did not see every student and everything that they had done. All right, we just saw examples, and we believe that it's, from a trend perspective, that it's a very good trend. All right, but we still don't have any documented results. And if we're going to get into a discussion about performance, just understand that I'm prepared to say some things about performance. All right, because I've been here and seen what we've done over the past 9.5 years. Okay. And so we're walking,
well, I mean,
we need to be careful about
Sorry.
what we're claiming to have done. Okay.
Yeah, and Charlie, as a board member, I think you have not only the right, but in a way, the obligation to speak about things that you think are of concern. And I also recognize that everybody in this system is overworked, at least in the sense that they've got more tasks to take on than they have time for. I see it in these kind of jobs all the time. So it could be normal that data isn't available and that people say, well, I'll try and have it available by a certain time, and other things get in the way. But as a school board, the same thing happens to us. We get to a certain hour of the night and we're all fried. We want to go home. It's not like we couldn't stay another hour and talk about student performance, but we will all feel like we've done our our share at 9 o'clock or whatever on a school.
I don't
board
want to
night.
talk about tonight, John.
So the thing is. Yeah, I shouldn't say more, but I think that
I think
We
what
could
you,
talk.
well, I think what you asked, what I heard you say was that we won't have assessment results till the end of the year due to the assessment actually not being done until May. And so you can't provide something that hasn't
we
even
don't have.
happened yet at this point in time. And so you were asking for what is information and perhaps some thoughts about what might be, some projections perhaps. Maybe that's not beneficial, but that's what I thought you,
Yeah,
We're
I think that's a good description. of it.
Which assessment are you talking about?
I'm talking about Ames Web Plus.
You're talking about what?
Ames Web.
Ames Web Plus.
Uh-huh.
They did say they would have some. Oh, this is it. February and July, we should get data to see growth.
Yep.
So I recall the conversation, and I think it wasn't like a specific testing, but they would still be able to have some results.
growth data would be based
There we
on
go, there we
Ames
go.
Web. Ames
So I
Web
mean,
is-
we're still going to see it. It's just not going to be the end of the year test, because it hasn't come yet. Yeah. But we will get the data, February and July.
So whatever you are looking for, just let
The,
me
the
know.
reason I said that was
Mhm.
because there was a presentation made relative to students' progress. Okay, and it was remarkable when you look at the information, the examples that were given. Okay, the only I only said that as a cautionary statement because you don't really know until you test it. That's all I was saying.
Ames Web data is available to me also.
It is, but it requires
So when it's
a
ready
different-
and
yeah.
I understand what
Yeah.
it means,
Yeah.
then we can pull that data as well.
Sounds good.
But
And those
obviously,
are-
the
and those are
assessment has been
formative
given in
pieces, not
February.
summative.
They don't have great data.
They are two different measurements.
Okay,
Is this, I don't know what do you want me to bring people here to have even a minor or a small discussion? Is that something you're asking?
Speaking for myself,
Okay,
yes, if there's data that we can get or information. Even if hard data is coming in, it's not available on Monday, but if there's further information. I mean, even when we've had presentations, and we had a couple of good presentations from the three principals, but in the course of a short presentation, there's just so much that a board who's got a full agenda is going to absorb. So if you think that some of your people can come and give some highlights, that would be great. To know what we're working on.
okay.
All right, anything else?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, John.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions or discussion on that one? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. All those opposed and abstentions?
I'm gonna say, no, I'm just kidding. All right.
That passes 7-0. And we're adjourned. Thank you.